Hey peeps, this is Kizu, this time only in audio form. Welcome back to Dead by Daylight, and specifically, the worst PTB we've had, probably since Twins release. If you want to skip to any sections, the timestamps are in the description, but otherwise, let's get right into it. First up, the head of this PTB, the Twins, are perhaps the worst killer design we've seen in the history of this video game. I don't think even Nerf compares, unless you perhaps consider her a very, very original design. So, the gist basically of the new Twins is, you no longer have any real cooldown between switching to Victor and to Charlotte. All of these cooldowns are substantially reduced. And Victor, still as fast as ever, 6 meters a second, will be able to pounce on healthy survivors and not latch on. When he enters his cooldown, after hitting a healthy survivor, he will not be able to be kicked. And then he will just be able to pounce on you again and down you. After which he'll attach to you. Without surviving, you'll not be able to recover. And then Charlotte will get a 10% haste bonus that will last until Victor is shoved off or another survivor is injured or downed by any means. What this basically amounts to is it is impossible to win a 1v1 against Twins. Victor is completely uncounterable against any slightly decent player, which means essentially in 20 seconds you are going to be going down against any Twins player and there is absolutely nothing you can do. Very fun. And despite the biggest point by behavior of this update being they wanted to reduce slugging for Twins, slugging is still very possible and plenty effective, because once you have a person on the ground, you can just recall Victor and put it after somebody else. That other person still has to recover, and Victor is a force to be reckoned with when you're trying to go for that pickup. It is horrible. There are some additional changes to Twins, and the restriction around hooks is supposed to be removed because you have the anti-phase capping system. But I found that the whole mechanic was completely bugged out and never worked consistently. Sometimes you'll be able to switch, sometimes you wouldn't, sometimes you would be able to unbind Victor, and sometimes you couldn't. The only consistent thing is if you're in 16 to 18 meter radius of the hook, if you wake up as Victor or Charlotte, you'll be slowed down a lot. But Victor actually doesn't care about this camping anti-mechanic, unlike Singularity, because Victor can just pounce immediately, negating the whole anti-camping mechanic. Very well made behavior. Other notable changes include her add-ons, and specifically I want to talk about their Distant Pendant, the one that made Victor, when you kicked him, I believe, you made you exposed, which allowed for this kind of fishing build where you sat in the Sidious and left Victor alone, so survivors would kick him. It was cute, it wasn't very good at all, but it was cute. It's now a haste add-on, so each time a Victor injures a survivor with a pounce attack, it will increase Victor and Charlotte's speed by 2%, and this can reach a maximum of 8%, and this effect is lost when putting a survivor into a dying state. You get more haste add-ons, yay. And besides that, don't forget, there's also another fun new add-on. Every pounce attack with the weighted rattle add-on will inflict broken for 60 seconds, which is insane, and way too free, and promotes slugging even more. To sum it up, the Twins Rework is a complete failure. It fails even at one point the behavior tried to address, and fundamentally, it just makes Twins an S-tier uncounterable killer with no gameplay to speak of for either sides. It also focuses on haste add-ons, and more haste, and more haste, also more haste. Absolutely horrible. One of the worst things I've ever seen in the time I've been covering this game. Next killer update is the Blight. The official patch notes say that they have improved collision detection to reduce cases where Blight slides off objects. What this seems to essentially mean is Blight has received the collision model kind of similar to feel to Wesker. You bump on a lot of things. And navigating indoor areas is horrible, and you can even bump on small rear-view mirrors of cars you could previously easily slide off of. And speaking of sliding, hug tags are gone, dusted, and taken out the back. If you try to slide on anything, you just can't. If you try to walk up to an object and look down so you can slide, if you're just too close, you can't slide at all. The power button is just not there. Very similar to Wesker. I'm not an expert of Blight tags or Wesker tags, so I couldn't tell you if there is some hidden tag that allows him to hug tag still, or some other exploits, which I'm sure there are. But the point is, this is horrible and is misguided. In other notes, add-ons. And speaking of notes, with shredded notes, it was a very gimmicky but cool add-on that reduced your token amount, the rush amount, by 1, and also decreased the recharge token rate. Like, it took like a second to recharge a token, and that made it 0.33 seconds faster. So essentially 33% faster ish. What they've done for this add-on is remove the downside. So, on one hand, yeah, this is a buff, but on the other hand, it is kind of a nerf also, and kind of misunderstands the whole idea of that. Because you only had four rushes to recharge, your recharge rate essentially was a little higher. It's a thing that is happening right now to his iridescent add-ons, where because you have less tokens, your overall speed to get back from 0 power to full power is a little faster. Now, yes, of course, you could emulate the behavior by using like only 4 rushes on 5 rush Blight, but it's a little different. And you can always accidentally like overbump or whatever. These things happen, and of course, mentally conditioning yourself to only use 4 rushes is kind of hard. And it was a nice design. It was restricting, but it was cool. It was interesting, and you will see a theme of all the changes to the add-ons of Blight. They are boring, uninteresting, and uninspired. The Summoning Stone used to be an add-on that was basically the perk Blood Favor, but as a add-on. Whenever you hit a survivor with your M2, all the pallets nearby will block for a little bit. And instead, Summoning Stone is a very boring, like the most boring add-on I've seen probably in a little while. It increases the initial rush duration by 1 second. This is completely worthless, because you can just run Alchemist Ring, and it will be just way better. And speaking of things that will be way better, Soul Chemical. It was a cute gimmicky add-on that made a oppression skill check appear whenever you entered into a 60-meter radius during a rush of a survivor, and then on any prompt they're doing, they would get a difficult skill check. And it was very cute. It was not very good, but it was very cute, and it was fun to put on some gimmicky builds, and it could do with a little bit of a buff, so, you know, you could have some interesting builds with it instead of the other stronger add-ons. And instead, Soul Chemical is now just increases the initial rush speed by 10%. Why would you ever use this? And why did we sacrifice such a cool design for something so boring? I just don't understand. It makes me genuinely very sad. The Blight is a complete horrible update. People don't realize how boring Blight is to verse. What is going to happen is a lot of libraries. I know a lot of people say, oh, everyone will have perfect bump logic. No, they won't have perfect bump logic. Of course not. No, what's going to happen is people are just going to walk you down, brutal strength for pallet, and rush after you, and just do M1 into M2 or pallet break into M2. It's going to be very boring. It's going to be the most boring playstyle of Blight that we saw back on his PTB the first time she released. I'm not excited for this at all, and people celebrating should realize he still has a lot of busted add-ons that didn't get changed, and you are going to create a more miserable experience for yourself where you have less things to do, and this is a complete mess. Moving on to the perks. I want to first touch up on Decisive Strike, because Decisive Strike is the pinnacle of this update. This update is total and absolute garbage. So first up, look at this Decisive Strike animation. This was in the official pipeline, like not even deep in recess, on the official public timeline, on the roadmap, for 8 months. And look at this, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks fucking amazing, doesn't it? Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah. Let's play that again. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that. High quality. So besides the complete ugliness of that animation, this perk is now dog shit. And you might say, wait, did they increase the stun duration? Yeah, it's dog shit. So first up, you can just cancel Decisive Strike by dribbling. Like the OG 1.0 DS, you can just now put down the survivor and cancel out DS, because DS takes such a long animation. And speaking of long animations, now, besides the fact that you have a long animation, the stun duration applies throughout the whole thing, which means the buff to the stun duration doesn't give you any extra distance. In fact, I think you're making less distance right now with the new DS than with the old one. You're just wasting more of yourselves and the killer's time, which is awful. And half the time animation just doesn't work, and it looks so janky, and God, how do you make something this horrible and this bad after so many months of working on it? It really feels to me like in that one day that the PTB was late because it was completely fucked. What happened is they just made the DS animation and forced like some poor animator to work on it in like 5 hours across all the different killers, and this is what they got. Because God, that looks awful. Overall, Decisive Strike is just a pathetic excuse for a change on every imaginative level. It took them 8 months to basically just revert DS to what it was, and it took them 8 months to make this excuse of an animation. Just excuse. I don't even want to say an animation because I think it's a disservice to any animator in the industry. It is a disservice. And I don't think it's a fault of any animators that specifically worked on it. There are clearly some major time constraints here, because no even bad animator would put this out and say, I'm happy with that. No, the fault lies solely on people overlooking and just overseeing all of these decisions. This is the epitome of a new Dead by Daylight, where congratulations, we have more monetization incoming into the game, but this is the quality of the content we're fucking putting out after 8 months of work. Jesus Christ. Up next, Adrenaline. My take on Adrenaline will be very short and not very complicated. I just don't think it really needed any nerfs. I'm very happy it doesn't make you wake up against Freddy, but every other nerf is just not needed. I think if you get into endgame consistently, it's just a skill issue. I cry about it. Swifts are still gonna pop Adrenaline in front of your face, and after getting unhooked, because they're just 99 plus gen, so you're still gonna get either Adrenalines against Swifts, but solo queue players will suffer, so yay for that. Up next is Ultimate Weapon. Ultimate Weapon is a pathetic excuse of a rework, and notice how I'm using the words pathetic over and over in this PTB review. Well, unfortunately, it is a bit of a running theme. I feel like this update is rather pathetic. Ultimate Weapon now activates for 15 seconds. And instead of 30, it reveals survival auras for 3 seconds when they come into the radius, and the cooldown is now 60 seconds. Now, you might think, well, this does seem like a nerf, and if you're playing Trapper, if you're playing Demogorgon, if you're playing Pig, for fuck's sake, yes, most definitively a nerf. Especially to the fucker pigs who run it to interrupt your mock searches. Unfortunately, if you're playing Nurse, this is arguably just a buff, because this is like a almost map-wide nowhere to hide. They can just trigger on demand, and you pair this with like Lethal Pursuer and nowhere to hide, and what ends up happening is you have permanent aura rating on pretty much everyone during the whole match. And with any high tier killer, that is incredibly valuable. And being able to capitalize on complete aura rating, even for fucking 3 seconds, is immense. You just can find the person immediately, even if they're crouching, even if they have Conspirator. And you might say, but what if they have Distortion? Well, you only need to trigger this a few times through the match, and your Distortion tokens will go away, because you will be revealed by other things. If you're playing against the high tier killer, they probably either running so much slowdown you're never gonna win anyway, and your Distortion is doing nothing, or running so much aura reveal that your Distortion could never keep up. So either way, you are going to lose, and either way, killers who aren't cheaters and who wanted to use it sometime, just as a cool tracking perk, like I don't know, Evan Macmillan, are going to lose because this perk is now dog shit for them, and isn't at all usable like even an old Ultimate Weapon. And meanwhile, Nurse is still going to use it, Oni is still going to use it, Blight is still going to use it, all of these killers are still going to use it, while all the lower tier killers are still going to suffer. And there is still the blindness status effect to it, which is insane. Behavior keeps talking about, oh yeah, survivors won't know if they're being revealed, but you're still blinding them. How are you this pathetic? How do you not even think about the most basic aspects? Like, you are giving reasoning for changes. That not like it doesn't make. It's not like it doesn't make sense on like a high, like, if you think about it. It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense if you don't think about it. If you just compare statement A to statement B. It doesn't make sense to reason that this makes survivors not know they're being revealed if you are still blinding them. They see the status effect pop up on their screen, front, face, and center. I am fucking floored with these perk updates. It is horrible, and I have no good words in my vocabulary to express my utter hatred for the environments and the higher-ups that produce this level of quality. Before we move on to Haddonfield, I want to touch up on a gameplay mechanic change that has been added to this patch that speaks to just complete and pathetic just lack of at all playing your own game at like any level. So what they've done in this update is the unhook interaction may no longer be cancelled partway to avoid being able to keep someone on the hook maliciously. You know, when people spam unhook run to run to blah, 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 blah. And trust me, I hate that when it's done to me. But the thing that this does is completely fucks over any kind of rescues. It has many unintended side effects, like the knight touching the hook while you're being chased around the hook with a guard and the knight, so you will lose the hunt. Now you'll be forced to into the unhook prompt. Two-man rescues, where one person starts to rescue, immediately cancel, gets hit, and runs away, taking advantage of the actual full speed boost, and the other person rescues in the attack cooldown. That's gone as well, because you're going to be forced into animation, so you won't be able to take advantage of a whole speed boost, and you're likely going to go down. And so there's a fourth person body blocking. It's a whole fucking thing that is just so thoughtless. These changes have zero thought of a sane human being put into them. Zero. Absolutely fucking zero. The one decent highlight of this update is the Haddonfield update. And I've spent some time on it, and I firstly were pretty positive. But unfortunately, I think I'm going to need to veer off towards the more lukewarm side of things. I think Haddonfield is a great idea. And I very much love the direction that they've gone towards. Unfortunately, some of the edge map palettes, and I just feel there either needs to be an increase in the amount of palettes on this map, or a decrease, or an increase in the palette quality on this map. Because there are a few still pretty big dead zones that are not added because of the lack of houses, especially on the main house side, and the edge palettes are just pathetic. Like it's like the behind the main of Erie. It's just a pathetic use of a palette. So it's a little too killer favored now. Now that I think about it and expand it a little more in my mind map, but overall it is a great change. A few loops I would love to for them to have a little less. Sorry, a little more height, a little more side blockers, because going to a house is basically a death sentence against any killer who can kind of shoot over objects, because there's just nothing you can do at all. So I would love for that to be changed a little bit. Something stacked up on the tables or whatever, on the couch, yada yada. It doesn't really matter, but something that blocks line of sight so you can actually dodge. The little shrubbery outside is a great example of what I would like. There are little gaps that you need to be mindful of, but at the end of the day, there are still some line of sight blockers, so you can actually loop around it if you're playing as Huntress or whatever. But there is still skill expression for both sides. Overall, it's an upgrade, but there are many changes that needs to be done. Currently, I think this map leans a little too heavily towards skill side, and the region potential is a little warning, but I guess with the new region system, it isn't as bad as it would have been before. Before I talk about the store, I feel very much obliged to talk about the many bugs of this update. This is perhaps the worst quality of an update we have received since the Twins chapter or 450 PTB. I have no words, and the only way I can describe this update is just give you a plain list of bugs. So, in no particular order. New Twins bugs. Old Twins bugs. DS plays at 15 FPS. DS sometimes doesn't play an animation. DS can be dribbled. Incomplete auras are broken. Survivor camera position is slightly wrong. Survivors T-pose with any animation. Survivors get stuck within the healing animation. Survivors get stuck mangled on the ground. Survivors go invisible in the lobby. Survivors randomly have T-pose in the lobby with items. The keybands are reset. The keybands can be properly bound to bug out. Sometimes you are bugged into the locker while opening it. The new Mori showcase is broken half the time. The new Mori showcase can crash your game. Many cases of money UI like not previously present. There are old Blight's exploits resurfacing. Endurance is still bugged in this PTB. DP wing removal is included despite being said it is not included in this PTB. PTB was delayed a day by a critical bug. Select icons are randomly bugged. This is the worst made PTB I've ever seen in my time playing Dead by Daylight for 2 years very actively now. Actually, sorry, 3 years very actively now. And it is important that I give context that this PTB came out in the state it has, while the store section is coming up. Moving on to the store. The store has received a tremendous overhaul. I cannot deny that. It's still decently buggy, and It makes sense being made from the ground up. It's on the PTB. But this just speaks to the pathetic list of priorities behavior has. Spending an obscene amount of dev time on the new store. Yup, we'll get it polished, chief, so you can spend money on it as soon as possible, without any issues for us. Everything else, fuck you, we don't give a fuck. DS animation slap that together. Victor, don't even think about it. Paste, I don't know, these add-ons, I don't know. Ultimate Weapon, make it reveal auras. Adrenaline, nerf it this way. Unhook, remove those. It is so telling of the priorities of this corporation. Money, 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 money. To sum it all up, the Twins update has been the worst killer design behaviors ever made, including Skull Merchant. I'm including Skull Merchant, I'm including Old Legion, I'm even including current Nurse. The new Twins on the PTB is the worst design ever made in Dead by Daylight, and it fails fundamentally even to address the one stated goal of a rework. The Blight update is horribly misguided and makes his add-ons boring, uninteresting, and makes his gameplay a loop itself boring, uninteresting, and frustrating, and encourages just doing the most boring thing that every killer does who has a good M2. It's just M1, full up M2, double tap. Very boring. Perk updates. Ultimate Weapon is completely busted in S tiers, completely useless also in lower tiers. Great job behavior. Yay. Decisive Strike. One of the most underbaked perks in the history of this game. Doesn't really work at all, and is just ugly, and is lazy, and is pathetic. Adrenaline has been nerfed lazily, and didn't need it, and it's cringe. Haddonfield Rework, a little too killer-sided, but overall it's pretty okay. Need to add more pallets, or make the pallets that are already there a little better. The Unhook change is completely horrible, and gives zero thought to the gameplay implications. And overall, the quality, just technically, of this update is pathetic. It's just pathetic. I haven't had a PTB on my memory that has been this fucking buggy. So, overall, if half of these things come to life, if the live release is even 30% as broken as what comes out onto live from a PTB, this game is cooked. And I do mean cooked. I am very disappointed to see behavior dedicate so much of their manpower to monetization, while the rest of the game is not just falling behind, it is completely unusable and broken. This is pathetic, and every single person, every single social media account should be shaming behavior for this fucking garbage. This has been Kizu. I'm out.